And yes, this is a repeat of my icebreaker. Gives me the opportunity to introduce myself to some of the reintroduce myself to the old timers and many newcomers and visitors. So some statistics. I'm Richard. My wife's Elizabeth. We've been married over 60 years. I have 2 grown daughters, 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. All live either in New Jersey or up north. I grew up in Chicago, went to Chicago in suburban public schools. 61 years ago, last week, I graduated from the Naval Academy at Annapolis. And that set me on my career path. Graduates of the Naval Academy have to do active duty, and I did it. And it was enjoyable, and I stayed through a first career. I stayed in the Navy somewhat over 20 years. It was a fun job, demanding, always interesting, arduous, and very demanding on the families. A few highlights. My first assignment was a destroyer in San Diego. My fiance came out, we were married in California. I've done there 2 years. 6 months of every year was deployed to the Far East. Your family is left alone. The rest of the time you're at sea most of the time. I applied for submarine duty from there. So we went back to New London. 6-month submarine school. I applied for San Diego. Came back to San Diego for diesel submarine. Under 2 years. Another 6-month deployment. Submarine deployments are much more arduous. Another submarine, and I applied for nuclear power training. It was quite new in those days. We just started to build some nuclear submarines. Went back to New London, year of training, 6 months in New London, 6 months at General Electric up in Schenectady. Okay. And they assigned me to a new nuclear power school being built back in Vallejo. They're expanding, so I taught school for a year. Enjoyed it. Mix of students or new recruits, plus a lot of senior sailors from the diesel boats trying to enter the nuclear power field. Enjoyed the duty. I was assigned to a nuclear submarine being built there, and the nuclear crew, we had to go back to Westinghouse and Pittsburgh for 5 months, factory training, new design. A lot of training in nuclear power program, and it worked very well. Built a submarine, nuclear powered submarine, the ship's crew does all the operation of the plant, from initial filtering, flushing, hydro test, through full power operation. Finished the ship. I was assigned a new job as engineer officer for a Polaris submarine back east, but first we had to take this submarine. His name was Plunger. People laugh. It was named after the very first submarine the U.S. had. Took out Pearl Harbor, did a short deployment from there. Went out every weekend. We were the first really deep, really fast boats, and every weekend we had riders, all the flag officers in the area. Went back to New London, stopped in to see where my wife was living. She'd gone cross country with the kids and found a house. Flew over to Scotland, picked up the ship, a submarine there operated out of Scotland. We had 2 crews, so we had more time home than ever had before. But two great years as engineer officer, went to engineering staff. With another submarine down in Charleston, we moved there for 2 years, submarine Boulevard. I applied for engineering duty, especially part of the Navy, was accepted. Went to Washington, Bureau of Ships. Day jobs only, new life. No night works, no shifts. And went to Bureau of Ships, worked in R&D for a couple of years, went to grad school, got my master's degree at George Washington University, worked in engineering management, came back to Mare Island as a repair superintendent. I worked there for 4 years and retired from the Navy. Nuclear power was growing. I took the exams and passed, got a state license in nuclear engineering. Mostly worked for Bechtel. I'm a design engineer in San Francisco. And they offered me, they said, we need somebody to go to the construction site. Nice promotion for it. People don't want to go. Resident engineer. And almost equivalent to the work I did in shipyard, so glad to go. They make nice promotions out of it. People don't want to go. They don't build nuclear power plants in garden states, garden cities. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, mining town, get the mine worked out. Worked there for 3 years, finished 2 nuclear plants, went to Pottstown, Pennsylvania, another plant, Georgia, 2 more plants, asked me to go to Korea, special opportunity with my experience. We went to a construction site down on the rice paddies. That was a cultural shock. But the harder job is the Bechtel, the more they paid. So they had a lot of attractions to go, and we enjoyed it. There were a couple of years there, came back working at Dabble Canyon and some other work, and Bechtel got another job in Korea. And apparently they asked for me by name, was I available, so that's flattering. Yes, and this is in Seoul instead of out the construction site. So my wife found back to Seoul, 3 years in a big city, and enjoyed it. And finished that up, came back, worked a few more years, Dabble Canyon, and PG&E closed down their engineering site in the city, and Bechtel closed their power division, because every work was running out. I was 65, I retired. So I had 20 years in the Navy, and 20 years working in nuclear power, and I've been retired for 20 years. And we didn't travel for our retirement. We've been on the road all the time, so glad to stay home. I active in some veterans groups, particularly the sub-vets, and I go down to the Submarine Museum, Pomponido, several weekends each month as a docent. Anybody ever wants a tour of it, let me know. I'll give you my days and I'll give you a free tour. That's my life in 7 minutes.